Hello, I'm Aisling Hagan and welcome to this week's episode of Down County Matters. Today we are on the northern shore of Carningford Lough in Warrenpoint. Coming up on today's show, we find out how the plans are going for the proposed Narrow Water Bridge. We visit Narrow Water Castle and discover its colourful history. If you want to find an old picture of Warrenpoint, then the Old Warrenpoint Forum is the place to go to. And lastly, we have a song from the Sands family. Warrenpoint is separated from the south by a narrow strait. A proposed narrow water bridge has been in the pipeline for many years, so we caught up with Jim Boylan from the Bridge Committee to see how plans are going. We're standing here at the proposed site for the narrow water bridge. Now, this has been an idea for many years. Is it actually going to happen?
Yes, I think it will happen because the people want it to happen. Is an economic catalyst for South Down, South Armagh and North Louth. It's been an idea has been on the agenda since the mid-1970s, and this latest bridge has been proposed since the mid-90s.
Now tell me about the bridge. Have you any plans of what it would look like?
Yeah, the plans has been there. It passed EU budget restraints, and the last time it failed because when the tenders came in, there was an overrun of money. Our group has battled for years, and we got EU funding of 17 million euros the last time. But this bridge needs the political will, both north and south, to make it happen. You can see the small stretch of land from the south that will make this a tourist catalyst of the hidden gems, not only of Louth and the Coolies and the Mourns.
I holidayed a lot over in Carningford and Omeath, and there was many a day you went, I might take a wee trip over to Warrenpoint, but then you couldn't be annoyed going the whole way down into Newry and around. So what would it mean to people living here in Warrenpoint?
Oh, it'd be massive. If you take the last time, even business-wise and economy-wise, when we got plan permission and bridge orders from this, there was 3 empty buildings in Warrenpoint purchased on that for tourism and for all the projects. Now, since the loss of money, we now actually have 3 premises closing. Our tourism industry is under pressure on both sides of the loch. We're now living in an island that's the people are meant to be united and happy in whatever skin they want to be. But it seems to be our politicians are keeping us divided by not letting a project like this go ahead.
And tell me about the group. Who makes up the group? Is it just all people that are in support of it?
Yeah, the group is mainly made up of business and community type of people. We share our ideas with groups in Louth, but the main group is made up of people from Omeath and Warrenpoint and all over. This has been an ongoing issue since the 70s, and it has evolved. And even after the bridge is built, it will evolve again because we have to go out and capture the tourist market, which I think is easy because we live in one of the most beautiful parts of the island. It's a hidden gem and people need to see it.
I am standing here looking across the water. I can only imagine what the bridge is going to look like, but do you know what it's going to look like?
Yeah, the bridge is going to be a twin road. That means traffic each way with cycle lanes and footpaths. It's a basic low impact tourist bridge made of steel with concrete there. It's going to span 220 metres, so it's a short distance of span, and it will provide all tourist infrastructure, tourist buses, coaches and whatever. It's a vital lifeline for this part of the island.
And it's great that people can walk across it as well.
Yeah, people will walk and will cycle, because if you take on the Omeath Carlingford side, they have a greenway from Carlingford to where the bridge is. So once the bridge is there, that greenway can extend to Newcastle, it can extend to Newry and further afield.
And boats can also pass under it?
The bridge will lift up so boats can pass by and go up to the Newry Canal. So when the Ulster Canal is complete as well, they will come down to the Victoria Gates in Newry, come down the loch, and the bridge can lift up and the boats can sail out into the loch and the Irish Sea.
Well, I really hope that it comes through for you, and I can just see that this is a dream of yours.
Well, it's not only a dream of mine, it's a dream of all the people in this area. And basically it's down to politics now. We need to see politics working. We need to see it working in a better way, and we need to be given the tools that we can go with our own economic and business outlook to make this a better place.
Narrow Castle is a famous 16th century tower house and bawn. The site has been significant throughout many centuries, from the Vikings to the Normans right through to present day. I have passed this stretch of road many times, and I've always wondered about Narrow Water and about the keep here in the castle. So tell me a bit about the history of this area.
Yeah, well, this area here actually, mainly because of the geological features that surround it, the moorings in that direction there, the coulee in that direction there, and behind us we have Slieve Gullion, the Ring of Gullion. Because of that, the area here, the river really closes in, and it's become a point where people have lived really from the earliest times. As a young student, I remember actually seeing flints from the keeper of this particular keep here that dated from the Middle Stone Age, about 8,000 years ago. All around us, we have remains of the New Stone Age in the tombs. We probably have history here of all the invasions that happened in Ireland. From the Vikings, and before that there we had the actually early Christians. There's an early Christian monastery site just across the other side of the keep that was founded by St. Bridget, and we have a couple of more in the area, Clonallen and and in Rostrevor we have Kilbrunny, and we had the Vikings who did their damage. They come up here, and they were here from the 8th century. We know from the Annals of Ulster that they actually had a permanent campsite here, where they mounted their raids, and to the extent eventually there was a battle on the site here when they were actually finally defeated and driven from here with the death of about 300 Vikings. We know that for a part.
I believe Hugh de Lacy, this was one of his first dwellings.
Yes, well, Hugh de Lacy actually built the Mott and Bailey. There was a Mott and Bailey right at the corner, and this was Hugh de Lacy's. This was one of Hugh de Lacy's first buildings here, apart from Greencastle, which is just further down the coast. And that Mott was again the guarding point of this narrow point, and Hugh de Lacy. There were, again, two major defensive points down at Greencastle and Carlingford. And Hugh de Lacy did fall foul of King John. King John eventually came with an army up the coast on the other side of Omeath. He actually crossed with his army on a pontoon bridge across at Narrow Water here, and making his way up towards Carrickfergus, I suppose to regain and to put down someone, one of his lords who was just a bit too ambitious.
Now, the family that lived here in the keep, they actually moved across the road here, up near the castle.
Yes, the whole family actually bought the land from the Bagnalls. The Bagnalls were the main landowners right around here from Elizabethan times, and they bought the land from the Bagnalls, and for a while they lived in this keep. God love them. If you've ever been in it, it wouldn't have been the most pleasant place to live. And when they got themselves together, in a sense, they then built a home over there called Mount Hall in the early 1700s. And later on, when wealth came to them, and it came to them in big style, they built this mock Tudor castle that you'll probably film as well.
Tell me about the main features of this keep that makes it so special.
Yeah, because there were literally hundreds of these built all across Ireland, and this is an Elizabethan keep built in the 1560s, and it was built here again for the defence of Newry and to watch everyone who is coming up the loch towards Newry. And it was built in 1560, and a grant from Queen Elizabeth of, I think it was £352. So it was built for £352 by a gentleman called John Sankey, who was obliged to keep 4 horsemen and 12 foot soldiers in it. And as well as that, he would have had the land around to make his living with. And actually, while Warrenpoint is the modern centre of sort of population around here, it would have been around here. The whole area around here would have been covered. With cottages from the farm workers. But it was a typical Elizabethan tower house. The bottom story was for storage. The soldiers would have lived either inside the wall or in cottages outside the wall, and the top story was for the family, right? And it had this what they call bawn wall, where in times of crisis everybody got in behind. They had the big door that nobody could get through, the big gate nobody could get through. But it had all the other features that goes with an Elizabethan tower house.
Now, standing here, the view is absolutely amazing, and I can see why it was built here, because you can see a good distance ahead of us there.
Yes, we can now. The port is actually taking it away from us, but we can't move a port just to make the place even more beautiful, I don't think. But it is absolutely a magnificent area, and I mean, every day I come past here, every time I actually go away from Warrenpoint and come back, as soon as you see that your heart lifts, and you think to yourself, I'm home again. You know, it's just a landmark site.
Well, that's it for part one. If you're enjoying the show, let us know through our Facebook or Twitter, and make sure you stay around for part two, where we have more fascinating stories from Warrenpoint. Welcome back to part two. We're still here in what's turned out to be a very windy Warrenpoint. Now, the best way to document history is through old photographs and writing down old stories, and that's just what the Old Warrenpoint Forum have been doing for over 10 years. Warrenpoint is a town that is steeped in history, and Ewan here is going to fill us in on that history. Now, you grew up here, so tell me a bit about the Warrenpoint town that you love so much.
Well, I grew up obviously. Most of my childhood memories were during the war, and things were pretty tight and austere, but we were happy enough with it. We knew it, that we were very fortunate that we lived so close to the Republic, where we could smuggle butter across and maybe the occasional couple of pounds of sausages, and we were close to the country where we always got our eggs and buttermilk and stuff like that. So we didn't suffer as much during the war years but Warrenpoint was a very busy place during the war. Loads of soldiers here before heading off to France, and indeed in the church here, no doubt they'll show you the plaque that was presented to them for the hospitality they received in this area.
And what was the atmosphere like back then? Can you remember? You know, how did you smuggle the butter and the food? Was it over in the ferry, or was it down your trousers and your coats?
Well, all year round there was a ferry at Omeath, at Norrawater, rowboat, and it was a 7-day job, winter and summer. How that poor man rowed on that tide and in those conditions. And indeed we would go down to Norrawater, cross the ferry, walk to Omeath, where you could pick up your pound of sausages and your pound of butter or whatever, and of course you hid them coming back. There would be a customs man waiting at Norrawater, but invariably he put a blind eye to small stuff like that, so he did.
If you want to know anything about Warrenpoint, you have to log on online to the Old Warrenpoint Forum. Now, Brian, you set this up, and I had a wee rummage through some of the pictures there last night, and it is fascinating. There are so many pictures.
There are, at last count, I think an estimated count of maybe 10,000, maybe 20,000. As I said, from when it initially started, would be the old Warrenpoint.com website was the original website, which would be it's actually 10 years old this year. And I'd found myself a bit of time in my hands through illness, and I thought, well, I need to do something before I go stir crazy. And I had a few old postcards that I collected off eBay and various other places, and I thought, well, there's nowhere really displaying these. You know, people would do exhibitions, the historical group would have the odd slideshow and what have you. So I thought, well, broadband just started. It seemed to be the right time to maybe start this sort of thing. So I did, and a few trials and tribulations, because I know absolutely nothing about websites. I could strip a computer down and rebuild it blindfold, and as regards taking the odd photograph, I'm known for that as well, but the website was new to me, and I went, oh. So I had a go. as some of the members of the website in those days will tell you, there was a few accidents, pushed the wrong button, whoops, that shouldn't have happened, but then it come to me one night, I was saying, well, all these photographs have stories, so maybe if we can get the photograph online, people maybe add their 5p's worth or 10p's worth, whatever, depending on inflation. So we thought, right, we'll start with that. I built a very, very basic forum. It was free at those days, it was free software, and it went horribly wrong as well. So essentially then, literally 8 years ago, I got the current forum online. And it was more or less a bit like our Facebook at the time. There was no social media, so it was used primarily as social media for a long time. When Facebook came along, of course, a lot of the people would drift off, but it left behind quite an extensive amount of photographs, information, stories, obviously. Some people have unfortunately passed on, but their stories are still there. Their photographs are still there, and as long as I'm still here, it'll still be there.
I truly believe you're doing a really important job. I absolutely love old photographs and old stories. And as you say, time does change so quickly. So, even in the last year, you'll see some shops disappearing. So it is so important that you are documenting this now, and it'll be there forever. What does that make you feel like? I'm sure, you feel like you're doing a really, worthwhile job.
To me, I honestly never thought about it. I just do it. I suppose I often thought back when it started that nobody else is doing this. I'll have a go at it and see. And I actually expected when the forum started, because it was the old Warrenpoint forum, I sort of half expected there'll be an old Newry forum or an old Banbridge forum or an old Kilkeel forum, but nobody seems to have gone that line. So it is still fairly unique in that respect. There are online forums, mostly Facebook groups. However, a lot of people don't like Facebook, don't know how to use it. At least with the forum, it's there, the section's there. Okay, it's a bit rough and ready still, that still need a lot of tweaking on it. But it's doing the job. You can search for things on it. Basically, as I said, I think at the last count, we had 1,600 members, not all of them active, obviously. There are over, somewhere in the region of 11,000 topics, and we're rapidly approaching 100,000 posts, all individual posts. Now, again, quite a few are older ones and maybe irrelevant, but they're still there. And I don't delete stuff, unless if a photograph goes missing, I'll remove bits and pieces, but generally it's still there.
That's absolutely amazing. That is history, and you're just keeping it there for everyone to see. I
just basically I hold the keys, and people can either put stuff on or they don't. There's no point in history lying in drawers and cupboards lying there. People should get that history out there, whether they choose to put it on Facebook or put it in the forum where everyone can see it. That's entirely up to themselves, but certainly do not hide photographs. People want to see them.
This area has a thriving music scene, from the Fiddler's Green Festival to the Blues on the Bay, and we're going to catch up with two of the driving forces behind those festivals and have a little bit of music. It is great to get inside and warmed up with a wee cup of tea and a coffee. Now, gentlemen, you are a part of the whole music scene here in this area, both Warrenpoint and Rostrevor. So you've both created two festivals. So we'll start with you, Tommy. Tell me a bit about yours.
Well, I've been part of a festival in Rostrevor since the beginning, the Fiddler's Green Festival, and it's a folk festival, a traditional music festival. And it takes in a very wide embrace of the arts in general, the storytelling, dancing, poetry, and all those things. And it's all centred around the village of Rostrevor, just a few miles from here.
And now you also do in the Blues on the Bay Festival, and we came down and covered it in the summer there.
Yes, we do indeed. And again, we're following from Fiddler's Green. We've seen already the amount of tourists. Once there's something good down here, they will come down. First time they come, they'll always come back because the scenery is so beautiful. Never mind all that happens within the actual festivals themselves. But just the Blues in the Bay Festival, it's now 18 years old, so it has progressed magnificently with people like Van Morrison take us under his wing, and Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac. We've had so many really good artists here, and they love coming down and they keep asking to come back. So we hope to continue just as well as the Fiddler's Green, who have a great anniversary this year as well.
That's right, this is the 30th anniversary this year. When you're out walking and there's no one near you, but a voice keeps calling and you hear your name, it's not the leaves are whispering breezes. It's me that's calling you back again. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? As you roam through lonely London town. When evening's falling, you'll hear me calling. Come on home to the county down. Do you remember fiddlers playing songs and stories the whole night long? It's little than that you thought of leaving. It seems so strange now that you were gone. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? As you roam through lonely London town. When evening's falling, you'll hear me calling. Come on home to the county down. I'm always dreaming that things are changing and that they're building a factory tall, and the young ones needed again ignoring, but I still need you most of all. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? As you run through lonely London town. When evening's falling, you'll hear me calling. Come on home to the county town. We'll sing it again. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? As you run through lonely London town. When evening's falling, you'll hear me calling. Come on home to the county down. Come on home to the county down.
Warrenpoint is definitely worth a visit if you're down this neck of the woods. Well, that's all from this week's show. If you've got a story or an event you would like us to cover, why not get in touch through our Facebook or Twitter, or check us out on irishtv.ie, and you never know, we could be in your town very soon.